Indian philosophy has long been preoccupied with the nature of consciousness, often considering it as the foundation of existence itself. The Vedas and Upanishads, ancient texts of wisdom, repeatedly emphasize that understanding the true self, Atman, leads to liberation, Moksha. Advaita Vedanta, a non-dualistic school of thought, asserts that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is a manifestation or appearance within it. In modern times, consciousness studies have gained prominence across disciplines such as neuroscience, philosophy, and artificial intelligence. The hard problem of consciousness, a term coined by philosopher David Chalmers, questions how subjective experiences arise from physical processes. Ancient Indian teachings provide a complementary perspective, suggesting that consciousness is not a product of the brain, but the fundamental reality itself. The foundations of Advaita Vedanta. The Upanishads, the philosophical culmination of the Vedic texts, serve as the foundation of Advaita Vedanta, one of India's profound schools of thought. These ancient scriptures explore the nature of existence and consciousness, proposing a non-dualistic view of reality. Central to their teachings is the declaration that the essence of the universe, referred to as Brahman, and the essence of the individual self, known as Atman, are fundamentally one and the same. This realization is encapsulated in the famous Mahavakya, great saying, Tat Tvamasi, or Thou art that, affirming the unity of the cosmic and individual consciousness. Shankara, also known as Adi Shankaracharya, was an 8th century Indian philosopher who played a pivotal role in systematizing and popularizing Advaita Vedanta. He provided clarity to the Upanishadic teachings, emphasizing the importance of dispelling ignorance, avidya, about one's true nature. Shankara argued that the misidentification of the self with the body, mind, or ego creates a veil of illusion, leading to suffering and bondage in the cycle of birth and death, samsara. His works, including commentaries on the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutras, laid the groundwork for a systematic understanding of Advaita. At the heart of Advaita Vedanta are 3 key concepts: Brahman, Atman, and Maya. Brahman is described as the ultimate, infinite, and unchanging reality that underlies all existence. It is beyond attributes and dualities, existing as pure being, consciousness, and bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. Atman, on the other hand, is the essence of the individual self, which, when realized, is understood to be none other than Brahman itself. Maya, the third concept, is the illusory power that creates the appearance of duality and multiplicity in the world. Through Maya, the indivisible Brahman appears fragmented, giving rise to the mistaken perception of separation between the self and the universe. What is consciousness? In Indian philosophy, consciousness is not considered a mere byproduct of mental processes, but is understood as the foundational essence of existence itself. It is described in 3 interconnected aspects: Sat, pure existence; Chit, pure consciousness; and Ananda, pure bliss. These 3 elements, collectively referred to as Satchidananda, represent the eternal and unchanging reality underlying all phenomena. This perspective places consciousness as the substratum upon which all experiences, thoughts, and perceptions occur, highlighting its role as both the observer and the essence of existence. The Mandukya Upanishad, a foundational text in Indian philosophy, provides a framework for understanding consciousness through the analysis of 3 states of experience. The first is the waking state, Jagrat, where awareness is focused outwardly on the external world, processed through the senses and the mind. The second state, dreaming, Svapna, shifts this awareness inward to the realm of imagination, memory, and thought, independent of external stimuli. Finally, the deep sleep state, Sushupti, represents a stage where the mind and senses are at rest, free from dualistic experiences, yet enveloped by ignorance of one's true nature. Beyond the 3 commonly experienced states lies Turiya, or the 4th state, which is the core teaching of the Mandukya Upanishad. Turiya is the transcendental consciousness, unconditioned by the limitations of waking, dreaming, or deep sleep. Unlike these states, Turiya is not subject to change or fluctuation. It is the ever-present reality that silently witnesses all experiences. It is the Atman, self, which remains untouched by the transient and illusory nature of phenomena, offering a glimpse into the unchanging essence of existence. Turiya represents the ultimate realization of unity between the individual self, Atman, and the universal consciousness, Brahman. Recognizing Turiya as the substratum of all states leads to liberation, Moksha, where one transcends the dualities of pleasure and pain, birth and death. This teaching provides a roadmap for understanding consciousness as both a lived experience and a universal truth, bridging ancient wisdom with modern inquiries into the nature of awareness and selfhood. Advaita Vedanta provides a structured path for self-realization through three key practices: Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. These stages progressively guide a seeker from intellectual understanding to experiential realization of the ultimate truth. Shravana, or listening, is the first step, where the seeker engages deeply with the teachings of the Upanishads, absorbing their profound wisdom. It is not passive hearing, but an active process of immersing oneself in the scriptural knowledge, paying close attention to the precise meanings conveyed by the teacher. This stage lays the foundation for understanding the nature of reality, setting the stage for further inquiry. The next stage, Manana, involves reflection. At this level, the seeker intellectually analyzes the teachings heard during Shravana, addressing doubts and resolving contradictions. This critical process is essential to move from mere theoretical acceptance to clarity and conviction. Through logical reasoning and discussion, the seeker dismantles misconceptions, deepening their grasp of the non-dual nature of reality. Manana ensures that the teachings are not only understood, but also stand firm against intellectual challenges, strengthening the seeker's confidence in the path. Nididhyasana, or meditation, is the final stage, where the teachings are internalized and realized as living truth. This is a contemplative process where the seeker consistently focuses on their true nature, aligning their inner experience with the non-dual knowledge gained through Shravana and Manana. Nididhyasana bridges the gap between intellectual understanding and direct experience, transforming theoretical knowledge into an intuitive realization. By meditating on the self as pure consciousness, the seeker transcends duality, awakening to their true identity as Brahman. To convey these profound truths, Advaita Vedanta employs creative and accessible methods to teach what is otherwise ineffable. For instance, metaphors like the snake and the rope are used to illustrate how illusion, Maya, creates the appearance of duality. Just as a rope may be mistakenly perceived as a snake in dim light, the ultimate reality of Brahman is obscured by ignorance, giving rise to the illusion of a separate world. Such analogies not only simplify abstract concepts, but also provide relatable tools for understanding the fundamental teachings of Vedanta, making the path to self-realization more approachable for seekers. The 5 sheaths, layers of human existence. In Advaita Vedanta, human existence is understood as being composed of 5 layers or sheaths, collectively called the Panchakoshas. These layers veil the true self, the Atman, much like clouds obscure the sun. Each kosha represents a progressively subtler aspect of existence, starting from the gross physical body and moving inward to subtler dimensions of experience. Understanding these koshas is a vital step in self-inquiry, helping one transcend identification with transient aspects of existence and recognize the eternal, unchanging reality of the self. The Annamaya kosha, or the sheath of food, represents the physical body. It is so named because it is sustained by food and eventually returns to the earth as food. This kosha is the most tangible aspect of existence, consisting of flesh, bones, skin, and organs. While it is crucial for experiencing the physical world, Advaita teaches that it is not the self. The body is subject to constant change, aging, and decay, highlighting its impermanence. Identification with the physical body leads to suffering because it creates a false sense of self rooted in material limitations. The pranamaya kosha is the sheath of vital energy, or prana, which animates the physical body. It encompasses the life force responsible for respiration, circulation, and metabolism, sustaining the physical body and connecting it to subtler realms. This kosha includes the breath and the subtle energy channels known as nadis. Although it is subtler than the physical body, it too is transient and not the true self. Recognizing that prana is merely a vehicle for life's functions allows one to detach from identifying with this layer. The Manomaya kosha is the layer of the mind, encompassing thoughts, emotions, desires, and memories. This kosha processes sensory input and helps construct a narrative of I and mine. It is responsible for emotional reactions and psychological patterns, shaping how we perceive and interact with the world. However, the mind is inherently restless and prone to fluctuations, which can create confusion and attachment. Advaita emphasizes that the mind is an instrument of perception, not the perceiver, and therefore cannot be equated with the self. The Vijnanamaya kosha is the sheath of intellect, characterized by reasoning, discrimination, and decision-making. It allows individuals to discern between right and wrong, real and unreal, guiding ethical and spiritual choices. While this kosha is more refined than the mind, it is still part of the subtle body and subject to limitations. It operates based on accumulated knowledge and past experiences, making it a conditioned aspect of existence. Understanding this layer's limitations is crucial in the journey towards self-realization, as it shows that even intellect is not the ultimate reality. The Anandamaya kosha is the innermost sheath associated with the bliss experienced in states like deep sleep. It represents the subtlest layer of individual existence, where the ego and external distractions temporarily dissolve. However, this bliss is still conditioned and dependent, arising from ignorance of the self's true nature. Advaita teaches that the Anandamaya kosha, while close to the self, is still not the self. True bliss, or ananda, is unconditioned and arises only when one realizes their identity with Brahman. The Pancha koshas serve as a framework for self-inquiry, guiding individuals from gross to subtle dimensions of their being. By recognizing that each kosha is an impermanent aspect of existence, one can detach from these layers and discern the true self, the Atman, which is beyond the koshas. This realization is the essence of Advaita Vedanta and the key to liberation, Moksha, offering a pathway to transcend suffering and experience eternal freedom. Lessons for the modern mind. Advaita Vedanta and modern neuroscience, though rooted in vastly different traditions, converge intriguingly in their exploration of consciousness. Neuroscience investigates the brain and nervous system to understand how consciousness emerges and functions, often focusing on neural correlates of subjective experience. Advaita Vedanta, on the other hand, approaches consciousness as the substratum of existence itself, independent of the brain or physical processes. Where neuroscience often grapples with explaining the subjective experience, qualia, in terms of objective brain activity, Vedanta posits that consciousness is not a byproduct of matter but its very foundation. One of the most striking parallels lies in the emphasis on the observer's role in reality. Modern cognitive neuroscience recognizes the brain's ability to construct our experience of the external world, emphasizing that what we perceive is not reality itself, but an interpretation shaped by neural activity. Similarly, Advaita Vedanta argues that the mind, like a mirror, reflects the external world, and the self, Atman, is the observer, witnessing this reflection. This observer-centric understanding is echoed in quantum mechanics, where the act of observation appears to affect reality, a notion that aligns with Advaita's perspective that the observer's consciousness is central to the manifestation of perceived phenomena. In Advaita Vedanta, the brain and body are seen as tools or instruments through which consciousness operates, much like a musician playing a violin. The instrument, no matter how intricate, does not produce the musician's creativity, it merely expresses it. Similarly, Vedanta asserts that consciousness is not created by the brain, but expressed through it. This view challenges the reductionist notion that consciousness is merely an emergent property of complex neural networks. By shifting the paradigm, Vedanta allows for an understanding of consciousness that transcends materialist boundaries, offering a holistic and non-dualistic view of reality. The hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem of consciousness, coined by philosopher David Chalmers, highlights the challenge of explaining how subjective experiences arise from physical brain processes. While neuroscience has made significant strides in mapping neural activities and their correlations with mental states, it struggles to bridge the explanatory gap between objective brain functions and subjective experiences, such as the sensation of color, the sound of music, or the feeling of love. These qualia resist being reduced to electrical impulses or chemical reactions, leaving a fundamental mystery unresolved. Advaita Vedanta offers a unique perspective on this dilemma by turning the problem inside out. Instead of treating consciousness as an emergent property of the brain, Vedanta declares it to be the only fundamental reality. According to this view, the physical world, including the brain, is an appearance within consciousness, not the other way around. This inversion of the conventional paradigm reframes the hard problem entirely. Subjective experience does not need to be explained in terms of physical processes, because in Vedanta, consciousness is the ground of all existence, and physical phenomena are its expressions. This Vedantic perspective eliminates the duality between the physical and the experiential by identifying both as aspects of the same underlying reality, consciousness itself. The illusion of separateness caused by ignorance, avidya, creates the appearance of duality, making it seem as though consciousness arises from matter. By recognizing this misperception, Vedanta resolves the hard problem not through further analysis of the brain, but by pointing to the self-realized understanding of consciousness as non-dual and all-encompassing. The ultimate realization, moksha. In Advaita Vedanta, moksha, or liberation, is the realization of one's true nature as Brahman, the infinite and indivisible consciousness that underlies all existence. This state transcends the limitations imposed by ignorance, avidya, which causes individuals to misidentify themselves with their body, mind, or ego. Liberation is not something that is achieved externally. It is the unveiling of one's inherent freedom and perfection. This profound realization dissolves the illusion of separation, revealing that the individual self, Atman, and the universal reality, Brahman, are one and the same. The path to moksha involves dismantling the false notions of duality and recognizing that the suffering, desires, and fears experienced in samsara, the cycle of birth and death, are products of this ignorance. As long as one perceives themselves as distinct from the world and aspires for fulfillment through transient phenomena, they remain bound by samsara. Moksha represents freedom from these entanglements, offering eternal peace, shanti, and bliss, ananda. This realization brings a shift in perception, where life's challenges and pleasures are no longer seen as inherently binding, but as transient expressions of a deeper unity. Liberation is often likened to waking from a dream. Just as the dreamer realizes upon waking that the events of the dream were illusory, the enlightened individual recognizes that their previous identification with the ego and the external world was a mistaken view of reality. The dream and the waking world are seen as manifestations of the same consciousness. Moksha thus provides a sense of wholeness and completeness, dissolving the need for external validation or fulfillment. Importantly, moksha does not imply physical death or renunciation of the world, but a transformation in one's understanding of existence. The liberated soul experiences the world without attachment or aversion, living in harmony with the recognition of oneness. This state of freedom is described as Jivanmukta, liberation while living, where the individual operates within the world, yet remains untouched by its dualities. A liberated person, or Jivanmukta, embodies the realization of their identity as pure consciousness. This individual no longer identifies with the ego or the mind, but perceives the world as a manifestation of Brahman. For the Jivanmukta, the distinctions between subject and object, self and other, dissolve into a unified awareness. They see themselves not as a separate entity, but as the substratum of all existence, experiencing life as a continuous flow of divine play, lila. This perspective allows them to engage with the world fully, yet without attachment or suffering. The Jivanmukta views life's ups and downs with equanimity, recognizing them as ephemeral waves on the vast ocean of consciousness. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, gain and loss, these are seen as passing phenomena that do not affect their true nature. Living in this state of detachment does not mean indifference. Rather, the liberated soul acts with compassion and wisdom, guided by an inner sense of unity with all beings. Their actions are spontaneous and selfless, arising from an awareness of the interconnectedness of life. Such a person is described as living with complete inner freedom. They no longer act out of selfish desires or fears, but from a place of inner fulfillment and clarity. The Bhagavad Gita refers to this state as being like a lotus leaf in water, where the leaf remains untouched by the water despite being surrounded by it. Similarly, the Jivanmukta remains unaffected by the turbulence of the world while actively participating in it. Living as pure consciousness is not a withdrawal from life, but an embrace of it with a transformed perspective. The Jivanmukta becomes a beacon of peace and joy, inspiring others to embark on their own journey towards self-realization. Their life serves as a reminder that liberation is not an escape from the world, but a profound re-engagement with it, rooted in the awareness of oneness and the boundless nature of consciousness. In conclusion, reintegrating ancient wisdom into modern understanding allows us to address fundamental questions about existence, consciousness, and purpose. Advaita Vedanta bridges the gap between spiritual insight and scientific exploration, offering profound solutions to the mysteries of life. Please join me in spreading these profound teachings by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing the videos of spiritual content. Thank you.